Okay, good to go. Well, like a typical Monday again, just kind of recapping after thoroughly taking a look at the film. Obviously, still pleased to find a way to win on the road. Resilient group. Did talk about wanting to play for 4 quarters, win the second half. The momentum. Pleased with the end of the half. The 2-minute drive to get us a field goal kick to go up by 3 at halftime. That was a big kick by Jonathan there. I mean, really, Jonathan wasn't alone. From game 1 to game 2, we really improved in our protection because we needed to on a few of the PATs in game 1. We weren't good enough there. It got better. Obviously came in huge at the end of the game. Generally just defensively, played with a lot of effort. Again, rotated a decent amount of guys. Third down defense has got to get better, especially in that first half. And credit to Maryland, again, schematically, they got players. They're tough to tackle in space. We got to find a way to get off the field better on third down. But in the second half, got a little bit better and was resilient because, again, this thing was back and forth, and they take the lead halfway through the fourth quarter. They got the lead. The guys kept on playing, so was pleased with that. Offensively, it was nice to see some of the explosion down the field. Run game still needs to be more efficient. Protection wasn't as good as week 1. Got too much leakage there, and then we still got the turnover issues that are really going to bite us. Saying that, finished the game. Opportunity with the ball to go win the game, and those guys got it done. Was pleased with kind of the execution of the 2-minute drill at the end with the small details of getting the ball snapped, getting out of bounds, not panicking, playing with urgency. But poise, and that showed up. And then Jonathan Kim, ton of confidence in him, and he bangs the thing through. That was awesome. Injury-wise, Chance Rucker's going to be a longer term upper body, but you're not going to see him probably for 6 to 8 weeks, which was unfortunate because I did think he was progressing, and that'll be the next man up kind of mentality. Similar approach to the week. Now Mondays we're back to work, focused again on a process of practicing, preparing. We need to take advantage of that throughout the week. Looking forward to getting back at home, playing in front of a fan base, and kind of game 2 for me at least to be back home. Really looking forward to that. Got some respect for Florida Atlantic, Prairie View A&M. These guys know how to win some games. You look at it, last year, winning games in their league. I think they're on their side of the conference. Present some players, and so they'll have our full attention. Questions?
Jonathan, I'm wondering about that with Prairie View. I mean, obviously an FCS opponent, and you're coming off a conference game. I'm wondering how you kind of address the, I guess, mental side of that to keep guys from maybe thinking it's going to be a step back and kind of keep the edge and building on what you did on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll talk quite a bit tomorrow morning, but it's always about us. It's always about our process. This idea that, trap game or something, there's no such thing as a trap game. These guys will have our full attention. We respect every opponent we play. We've got to put in the preparation Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They're going to hear that. And I'm interested to see on their prep this week because we want to play our best football in this week 3 that we've played all year because we're getting better from week 1 to 2, 2 to 3.
Hello, Jonathan. Staying with the celebratory tone of what's happening with the program, if you allow me a little grace, I know you don't need a history lesson, but I want to unpack this question for historic sake. Prairie View, HBCU, historically black college university, and the connection that Michigan State has under the late, great Hugh Duffy Doherty, 1965 and 1966, winning those national championships, 66 with predominantly African-American players who couldn't play in the segregated South, coming to Michigan State, which is basically the HBCU of the North. So talk about potentially having that connection to the legacy, and then Willie Thrower being the first African-American to play in the Big Ten at Michigan State, and having an African-American quarterback in your relationship with Aiden. Can you just talk about the historic relevance of all those things?
Yeah, I did learn on some of those things you just mentioned, and we are celebrating those 2 teams, 65 and 66, getting inducted into the Michigan State Hall of Fame this weekend, which is a beautiful a perfect timing with Prairie View A&M coming in, and so I think it's, for me personally, coming to a place that celebrates these things and makes notice of a Hall of Fame induction at the same time, and teams coming in with a background to history, proud to be a part of it.
Jonathan, after the game, Mike Loxley said the plan was to make Baden basically beat them with his arm, and obviously that happened. How much do you think that alters game plans in the future, where guys have now seen proof that he can make plays with his arm, and how that affects their defense?
I think you think about it defensively, you do want to make them one-handed more or less, whether it's the run game or the pass game. Oftentimes you're trying to take something away, and so that's not overly surprising that you want to take away a run game, let's say, and then if you're doing that, you're going to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback to execute, and he executed well enough for us to win the game. And so he does. His decision making in this one, I didn't think was improved from game 1 to game 2. A couple of those interceptions, just inaccuracy. He's got to get his feet set to do it. And again, this kid's competitive. He's battled. I thought he improved from week 1 to week 2, and look forward to seeing his growth throughout the year.
Piggybacking on that, you've been around him for a long time. I wondered if there's anything you learned about him this week.
I don't know about truly learned. I think it was on display that this thing means a ton to him. After the game, a sense of he got some things done. He's durable, because it's not easy to go on the road and have some errors, especially into the game, late in the game when you need now. However, it's played out before. He's had a couple of errors that he played his best ball at the end. The kid's resilient.
Jonathan, with Chance down, that's 3 DBs. Do you do anything different in practice from a precautionary standpoint, or is there anybody even on offense that you could slide around?
I haven't had a conversation on any offensive players. Difference in practice, there's other guys going to get more opportunity to fill in, which I'm excited about. We've got some younger players that have been working hard, haven't gotten in on defense as much, and they might get an opportunity or force their hand to do it. Precautionary in practice, we're always trying to be really smart, having guys prepared for the game, but also healthy and to go in the game, and so that's a balancing act. But we've got some other options of guys that need to step up in there, and we'll see how this week of practice goes to determine kind of who those guys are.
When it comes to trying to get the run game going, obviously the offensive line has a lot to do with that, and a lot of new guys there this season. Luke Newman's playing a totally new position, and you also have lost, a starter with an injury. Just how, what do you think is the biggest issue there in trying to get it all together?
I think a little bit early, like what you mentioned early, gelling together, all 5 guys being on the same page. I love the fact that we are rotating a little bit. We wrote 3 guys at tackle. We rotate a little bit at right guard with 2 different guys, and so getting on the same page isn't always easy. We got to make the thing more physical. We got to play with the lower pad level. We got to finish on plays. That's going to help the run game. And I'll say, I'm not just talking the 5 old line. There's plenty of time where tight ends are big packages of that in the run game. Backs got to show some confidence in the hole too, and stay disciplined in their approach and what they're seeing, and they're not guessing, to us to be more and more efficient.
You had a couple guys dinged up throughout that game. Glover went out. You had to bring in some of the other receivers. I wonder what you kind of saw with Gates, with Isaiah, and then the kick return game, obviously, with Isaiah getting shuffled out there at the end.
Isaiah on the kick return game, that's the first kind of opportunity for him to do that, and he'll learn from that. We got to block some things better too. It's some of that. It's not always just the distance of it; it's the hang time of it, and making those decisions whether field it, fair catch, all that, and that's why we got to go back to work and practice to get that right. Gates. Is AZ on offense. Those guys have been working. AZ had a nice catch in week 1, so we got confidence with him in the game. Gates has been battling a little bit with his ankle, and so he hadn't been full speed until this one. It was nice to get him out there, and hopefully he progresses and does some more stuff.
Jonathan, with Nate Carter's had a little bit of a quiet start, I guess, it's fair to say, maybe to the season. Is it taking him some time, you think, to just sort of get a true feel for this offense? Are there other things going on that you just have talked about so far today? And additionally, what do you think K'Ron Lynch-Adams has brought to your guys' run game now that you've been able to see him, a couple times?
Yeah, not down at all on Nate. I think he's been working. He had a couple nice carries, especially early. He creased one down in the red zone this last week. We do want to have a balanced attack between the two of them. I think they're a nice change-up. Their skill set's a little bit different. Nate was huge in both 2-minute drives. He's in there. We're not running the ball a ton, but in the protection, knowing the calls, he had a couple of key blocks on pressures. And so that's how the season will go. One guy will get a hot hand, and we might ride him for a little bit. Takes all 11 in the run game to get the thing going. We're confident Nate will be right there.
Jonathan, we saw it seemed like a lot more Darius Snow on Saturday. Just
Yep.
wondering kind of the use of him and kind of his skill set for what the matchup is, and for a guy that obviously physically has been through a lot in the last couple of years to be able to get out there and look like he played pretty well.
Yeah, he did. He kind of makes the play on the deflection to get the turnover. Some of his plays kind of dictated offensively what they put in the game. When they show a couple of tight ends, you see him in the game quite a bit, so 12 personnel. Previous matchups we hadn't seen as much 12, so you saw a little less of him. But he's doing great. He's on teams as well and making an impact there, and we're going to need that for him to continue to contribute that way.
Coach, oftentimes when a team is this new, when there's this much turnover, these teams don't typically finish the way that you guys did. What does it say about this team? Is that encouraging, when it's just week 2 and you're already being able to pull off these wins?
Yeah, I think it's encouraging, but both wins, you win the thing in the fourth quarter. This team came together in August and wanted to be player-led, and I think it's been led by the players to finish the way they have, sticking together, each side of the ball, having to step up for the other one. It's a tight-knit. I would describe it as tight-knit, even though we have so many new faces. And you learn each week. That's one thing that's shown up the last couple of weeks is the ability to respond and finish. We're going to try to keep that consistent for the year.
Jonathan, you talked earlier about the adjustment defenses may make to Aiden and Nick in the passing game. Just the things you showed. I'm wondering where you think Nick is in terms of his ability to read different things defenses are going to throw at him now that he's on film, and sort of the things you're going to have to maybe work with him on as he becomes more and more part of scouting reports.
Yeah, I think he'll show up after this game, getting down the field. Some of that, he got down the field because he was blocking so well in the run game. Like he's going to dig out the safety. A lot of times there's a couple good pictures of him doing it, and then the play action pass, it makes it look the same. We don't have any training wheels on the guy. I mean, he's out there, route adjustments. If it's cover 2, you do this. If it's man-to-man, you do that. He's playing all of those. He has a nice game. We need to continue to complement the pass game after, again, 2 weeks, but multiple guys catching it, because if they want to do some things rotation-wise his way, well, tight end need to show up. Velling was huge on third down a couple of times. Might present some opportunities for other guys.
Jonathan, with all the positives from Saturday, when you look at the tape and you see the second most penalty yards in the country, how maddening is that for you as a coach, and what do you do about it?
Yeah, it's self-inflicted. I was not pleased with it. Week 1, that was self-inflicted. Now it's heavy on the defensive side. It was like polar opposite in this one. Hands inside. We got a couple of holding penalties. A terrible blindside block when, again, we're going down to the red zone. Terrible decision making. And so it starts with us. We got to be able to coach this better, set a higher standard for that. And I think I've said this before. The goal is not to play penalty free. I'm not asking them to do that. We need to fly around once in a while, but it needs to be in between the whistles, playing full speed and with great technique. But double digits back to back, not good enough.
One quick follow-up.
Yep.
Did you get any kind of explanation on that roughing the kicker that wasn't?
The ball was tipped. I just understood the rule that way. Once it gets tipped, the guys can get hit.
Kind of going back to Aiden, and it was kind of maybe a little thing, but on that reverse to Glover, he was there throwing a block for him. I guess when you watched it back on tape, what did you see? And as a former quarterback, one, is that a good thing? Or two, what does that maybe say in terms of a leadership moment for the guys around him to see that?
It was a really good thing, and actually I think it was well executed because he played with a little savvy, hands the thing off, that you don't want to go right into blocking the guy so the defender recognizes something's different. So if you watch it, he's kind of casual at it first, then he doesn't do a blindside block and knock the guy out, puts his feet apart and gets the receiver outside. Going back in my days, I can remember calling a reverse and the quarterback's supposed to get a guy done. This guy's John Ross is going to take it to the house. If the quarterback gets this done, he doesn't do it because his feet aren't apart. So it was well done by Aiden.
From a leadership standpoint, too,
Yeah, the buy-in of like, yeah, he'll do whatever it takes to do positive plays and ask him to block once in a while. He's all in on it.
Jonathan, I was wondering about Jerron and Ed Woods. Those are two guys that both went off, and I don't think we saw them.
Yep, we'll kind of see how they progress through the week, but we're hopeful and see what the week of practice looks like.
Okay, and then with the run game, just how the carries get split up, week to week. We saw a little bit more of an even balance between.
That's where we want to be until someone maybe gets a hot hand. But going into the game, both those guys we feel confident with. Multiple reasons, with a long season, the wear and tear. Guys get tired. Oftentimes, that's when you see the ball on the ground a little bit more, and so we want to keep both those guys fresh and have utmost confidence in both guys.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Internally, Charles Brantley was named Defensive Player of the Week. I know he played the run real well in the first quarter. Can you talk about things that he did?
Tackled,
that earned
yeah,
that?
he did play the run well. He tackled well. Again, those are some good receivers. He was out there challenging them. And so the way he tackled, covering what I think is a really good receiver crew, comes up with, obviously, the huge pick that we didn't turn into any points, but that was a huge play in the game. Chuck's been, and you have a couple guys go down, so this guy's not getting a blow. I mean, he almost played every snap. He had a great game.
Just wondering, we've talked about penalties now for both weeks. Last week was kind of a unique deal in some ways with that quarterback, but just wondering how you guys address them internally at all. Like, are there, I don't know, punishment's a strong word, but like accountability? Like, if you have a personal foul, you have to do this, or is there anything like that? How do you guys just sort of address those?
Yeah, we'll kind of keep that internal, but really I want it to be the peer pressure amongst the team that guys don't want to make bad decision plays, and so not going back to this player-led idea. It's not all dictated coming down from the coaches. It's the locker room, and these guys want it, and so I think we got a little peer pressure amongst the team that they want to do things right. Thanks.